Graphing a linear equation by using the intercepts method. Sketch the following graph using the intercepts method. Identify the intercepts. 3x minus 2y equals negative 6. Now make sure you understand what method is asked of you. There are 3 different methods we can use to graph the linear equation. The particular problem is asking for the intercepts method. This means we have to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Now, a lot of times I don't know what intercept I'd like to find first. Part of the process is letting one of the variables be 0 while solving for the other one. So what I'll do right now is look at my equation and then just let one of the variables be 0. So I'll go with x. So what I'd like to do is take my equation and plug in x equals 0 so that I can solve for y. So if x equals 0, if you multiply 3 times 0, we will get 0. Take away 2y equals negative 6. And 0 take away 2y is pretty much the same thing as having to write negative 2y. So if we want to actually solve for the y, we will divide both sides by negative 2. And we can get y equals negative 6 divided by negative 2 will give us a positive 3. So what I want to point out, if this is looking at plotting points, we want to make sure that we notice that we called x equals 0 and got y equals 3. So I always like to finish off this part of the problem by rewriting the ordered pair that I just found. Now remember, x always comes before y in the ordered pair. And we got, see, x equals 0 to solve to get y equals 3. So that's going to be one of our ordered pairs that we will be plotting. Now, sometimes I'm not quite sure if I've just found the x-intercept or the y-intercept just by looking at the point. Sometimes what I can do is plot it on an axis and then see which axis it hits so that I can actually determine if this is the x-intercept or y-intercept. But another handy fact about this particular point, I'll notice that if the x value is 0 and the y spot is filled in, I actually have the y-intercept. So I'll just label this right now so that we can keep this in mind. So this is actually the y-intercept. Now we first let x equal 0 in our equation. Now we're going to switch it around and let the y value be 0. If we do this, we will see that the equation gives us 3x minus 2 times 0 equals negative 6. And then what we have to do is solve for x. So again, if I notice to simplify my equation, 2 times 0 is really just 0. So I have 3x take away 0 still equals negative 6. And 3x take away 0 is just 3x. So I can rewrite that. 3x equals negative 6. And to finally solve for our x, we're going to divide both sides by 3. So that will leave us with x equals negative 6 divided by positive 3 is negative 2. So what I always do for myself every time I'm using the intercepts method, I always want to write my ordered pair after I find the missing variable. So if we remember that x always comes first, this time we have to remember that this is the x value. So -2 comes first, and then y equals 0. Similarly, if you're not quite sure which intercept this is, you could always wait to plot it on the axis and then see what axis it crosses through to determine this. But I kind of know a handy little trick again, understanding that when you see 0 in one of the spots, I think in this time 0 is in the y spot, and x has a number filled in, we've actually found the x-intercept. So the last thing you're going to want to do is plot the 2 points that you have just found on the axes. And notice I didn't quite label any of these in terms of what intercept they were. I kind of want to show you that if you figure out how where they're placed, you could actually figure out what intercept they are from looking at your axes. So I'm going to first plot 0, 3. So again, if I start at the origin, I do not move left or right, but I move up 3. So I'll plot that. And I notice that that point lies on the y-axis. So that actually gives me my y-intercept. I can actually label it right now. I'll also plot -2, 0. So again, starting at the origin, we will move left 2 units and not move up or down to get our actual point. And we'll notice that that point lies on the x-axis, the horizontal axis. So we can actually label it just by looking at it. So we have both of our intercepts plotted. The last thing to do is remember that we are sketching the graph of this particular linear equation. So we want to connect our intercepts with a straight line. That didn't look so straight, but hopefully if you have a paper and pencil with a ruler or a straight edge, you'll probably do a lot better. So that's how you graph a linear equation by using the intercepts method.